This week, we've seen monstrous Montagues, enterprising escapes, and one divine donut. Let's dive right into what's on the pull list. All right, this week we're kicking things off with Bleeding Hearts number 3, written by Dennis Camp with artwork by Stippen Morian. This was an interesting issue by way of the fact that I feel like we had such an emotional, weighty issue with issue number 2. And coming into issue number threes tend to be kind of like the stage setting issue, right? It's the one that kind of like showcases, hey, what is the threat or what is the purpose and where's this book going to be going? And I have to say, by the end of issue number 3, I kind of don't know. I mean, I kind of know, but what we see here is a little bit more of already what we've seen so far, which is that we have Pike, our main zombie-esque character, who is feeling emotions and feeling, I don't know, different things towards the living and not so much being in that zombie mentality, much like the rest of the zombies who overtook the world. But in the same vein, now we're also seeing the child of one of our other main characters who is noticing this and seeing this and is much more open to the idea of, I don't know, letting that kind of thing play out as opposed to just, trying to survive and taking him out regardless of whatever the circumstances may be. It's a very interesting issue, but I feel like I wanted something more stage setting on this one. I wanted to find out, are they teaming up? What is the purpose of this book? Is it about the emotional resonance between these characters? Is it about changing the world, saving the world? Is it about evolution for the zombies? I still don't know that quite yet. And that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. The book is still very, very good. I love Stippen's artwork on here. It's exactly what you would expect. And actually, I think it delivers the artistic quality that is perfect for the story that's being told. I just feel like I wanted a little bit more purpose behind what was being said here. So time will tell. Maybe we need a full arc as opposed to just 3 issues to find out what that is going to be. Bleeding Hearts was pretty good. Next up, we have The Fury of Firestorm number 1, written by Jeff Lemire with artwork by Rafael de la Torre. This book blew me away. I expected to really enjoy this for a multitude of different reasons. I'm a big fan of Jeff Lemire's writing. I think that most of the time it works really, really well. And DC Next Level has just been killing it with every single one of their titles. There's never been anything that's been lackluster that they've delivered, at least at this point. Fury of the Firestorm might stand above everything that we've gotten so far, though. So I don't have any background with this character whatsoever. In fact, I'm getting better with my DC knowledge here, but by no means can I go toe-to-toe with the best of the best. And Firestorm is a character I have no recollection of in any media whatsoever. So I feel like, enough of the backstory within this first introductory issue to understand the notion of this character, where they came from, the duality of the characters, as it's basically two people who inhabit the one super heroic body of the person that is Firestorm. But in this issue, we see that one of those characters, maybe the heart, maybe the Jiminy Cricket of the two, is kind of taken out of the equation. And it seems like the person or the thing that's inhabiting Firestorm has a little bit of a god complex, and they're toying with all of the powers that Firestorm has, as he can basically change everything on a subatomic level. So he goes into a town, starts manipulating things, eventually starts manipulating people, not in a malicious manner, but more so as just on a whim. Like, I feel like I can do this because it's almost like a kid playing with toys. He just wants to see what they're capable of. Sometimes that means taking your GI Joe and seeing how far that rubber band at the hips can stretch out, and sometimes that means breaking them too. Jeff Lemire is definitely delivering a cool story here that really, really gets me excited to see where they go from here, because not only do I have a better understanding of Firestorm, but he delivers some other side characters too that have been close to the character, or I assume close to the character in the past, and we get a lot more of their backstory as well in a really satisfying way. Fury of the Firestorm totally sets up a great series so far. I believe this is only going to be a 6-issue miniseries. If they're like this first issue, though, I'm going to be around for each and every one of them. All right, let's talk G.I. Joe Silent Missions, The Crimson Guard number 1, written and drawn by Gabriel Hardman. These have been really, really excellent, right? From the heroic version of the Silent Missions to the very first villainous Silent Mission that we got last week. This is the second one that we're getting here, and I was really hyped to see what they were going to continue to deliver here. Now, this issue it deals with the Crimson Guard, and we're getting this ceremony, right? Cobra Commander is there, and I think he's basically kind of like graduating the next class of Crimson Guard, right? He's giving them their armor, he's putting them out into duty. There's a ceremonial aspect to everything that's going on. But in the meantime, the Joes are also attacking that facility. So things go a little bit sideways. And with Cobra Commander there, you know that he has to escape and make sure that he gets to safety. Well, how does he do that? He teams up with one of these new Crimson Guards, and in fact, he takes on the guise of one of these Crimson Guards as they continue to traverse out of out of harm's way, basically, and try to stay one step ahead of the Joes. Gabriel Hardman, he's the writer and artist that's been doing this other book here on DC with the Batman, Green Arrow, and the Question series, and his artwork was really, really hitting in that. The storyline was only okay for me, but I think that it had a lot of potential if you take out those superheroes in there. I think if it was a standalone story, it would work. Well, here, it's kind of giving those same feelings, those same notions, and it works so much more effectively. On top of that, being that this is a silent issue, his visual storytelling is just top notch. It works out so well for this story. The pacing is great. The revelations that you get in this issue really work, and they work in a way where, again, you don't need the words to drive the story forward because the visuals do so much of the storytelling. Really great work here. I have to commend Gabriel for everything that they put forward in this issue. This was absolutely just stunning, right? It was another one of these great examples why these silent issues cannot be missed. If you're a Joe fan, you need to be checking out. If you're not a Joe fan, I would say maybe use this as your on-ramp because it might just make you one. Okay, with our next issue, we have Godzilla's Monsterpiece Theater presents Romeo and Juliet and Godzilla #1, written by Adam Tierney with artwork by Sean Peacock. So if you've been around for a little bit, you probably saw my reviews on Godzilla Monsterpiece Theater issues in the past, right? And those were done by Tom Scioli, and I definitely wanted to give them a little bit of my attention because I really like Tom Scioli's work, particularly in his Stan Lee and Jack Kirby works that he had put out. And I'll be honest, those didn't necessarily do the trick for me. Very fun, but really, I think more zany than I was ready to anticipate. Well, now I feel like I was ready to anticipate it. And for this issue, I gotta say, it was kind of more of the same feeling. Real fun. I really like the idea of what they're toying with here, with just kind of slamming those Godzilla, the Godzilla property into these other stories here, in this case being a Shakespearean one. It kind of works, but it's still way more zany than I would have ever imagined, right? So they do a good job at telling the storyline and kind of weaving Godzilla into that, but obviously it's going to have big impacts here. So there's some events that take place in the story that become bigger and bolder. There's some interactions with the Godzilla properties, in fact, with the Montagues, where there is not only Godzilla, but we have Mothra in this storyline, and not only that, but maybe one of these families, the Montagues and the Capulets, well, maybe one of them have their own Mecha Godzilla that they're working with. Again, it was fun. It was zany. It was interesting. Is it something that I could say is going to be for everyone? No, that's not the case whatsoever. But if you like Godzilla, check this out. If you like Shakespeare, maybe check this out. I don't know. Time will tell on that one. But Tom Scioli also has a backup story in here, which is dealing with Robin Hood, the character in the storyline of Robin Hood meets Godzilla, and that's going to be piecemealed out over the next Godzilla properties that they do together with the mashup quality of these storylines. It's not for everyone. That's about the best way I could put this here. But if you feel like this is going to be something that entices you, well, then the property probably is for you. So make sure you check that out. Next up, we have Iron Man #4, written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Carmen Carnero and Jan Bazaldua. So, Madame Mask's plan throughout this series has starting to come to a culmination as we have her and the Fixer who have kidnapped all of these people that Tony Stark identified as, brilliant individuals on the come up. And now she's basically putting them through the trials and tribulations that Tony was put through, which really allowed him to create the very first Iron Man armor, right? She's basically putting them in a cave with a box full of scraps. but maybe she's not pushing their buttons to the best of her ability, as the fixer feels like they need to press forward even more so. He's got a little bit of an ego trip here because he's a mechanical genius as well, so if he's dealing with an Iron Man type character, you can kind of feel like maybe there's a little bit of a competitive nature there. I really like Carmen's artwork on here. I feel like it's gotten better with each issue. Tony's characterization totally works here. There is a heartfelt quality to him that still comes from an egomaniac perspective, right? Still thinks very highly of himself, but there's more care to the character as well. What I think really works here, though, is that Joshua Williamson keeps the story fun and I don't want to say light necessarily, but he keeps it adventurous in a comic booky way that I really appreciate. He's striking a balance with the character of Tony Stark in the book of Iron Man that we have not seen probably since Matt Fraction's run, and that's a high mark to hit. So, Iron Man, Joshua Williamson, the match is working for me. Could it be Marvel's best work? Yeah, at least right now in 2026, it's up in the running for sure. Next up, we have The Nice House by the Sea, number 9, written by James Tynion with artwork by Alvaro Martinez Bueno. This is the book that just keeps drawing me in more and more, and like, I can't understand why it is. So, we're still dealing with these two houses, right? We've had the series, which was the Nice House on the Lake, and now we have series number 2, which is really more of a companion piece than a sequel series, but it's continuing the storyline. The Nice House by the Sea. And each one of these houses have a different group of people and have been compiled by a different alien intelligence, right? So one of them was more heartfelt, more caring, wanted to have a compassionate level of people that were in their house. The other was way more competitive, looking for the best and the brightest, but not necessarily the people that were going to employ the greatest aspects of humanity. So what that means is that, well, they're going to butt heads and they're going to go after each other. But what's fun is that the tables get turned a little bit in this issue where there's been mixing and matching of individuals. There's been a large swath of one house taking out another, and maybe it's not the one that you expect. But the thing is that from a single issue experience, this series and Nice House by the on the Lake has never worked for me. I think that this reads so much better as a whole, a whole set of books, right? So this might be a trade weight kind of thing for most people. I'm sticking around and I'm finding myself getting lost, but I'm just kind of accepting the fact that I'm going to be lost in a little bit of this because it's really about the characters. And if you lose track of the characters, which there are a plethora of in this book, you might lose out on some of the experience. But I feel like if you're reading every single issue, back to back to back, you're probably going to retain the knowledge of who these people are, where they're at, and what their motivations are much better than the month to month cadence here. The artwork, though, continues to be fantastic. It's the thing that kind of draws you right back in because, man, there is just beautiful things when it's like the simplicity of a landscape and a forest and the lake, the aforementioned lake or sea, they look beautiful. But then when you get into the interdimensional aspects of things and the body manipulation, it gets weird and horror like, and it all works together so well still. Nice House by the Sea. I'm sticking around for the ride. I like it, but let me know how you're enjoying it here. Is it better to be read in trade or is it better to read in single issues? All right, let's talk Psy Dimensional Rivals number 4, written by Peach Momoko with artwork by Peach, Phil Noto, and Jim Mafood. So first and foremost, shout out to Nick from Comic Culture for putting me onto this series. It's probably one that I would have skipped, but over the last week, I played catch up here, read the first 3 issues, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed them. This is not going to change the landscape of the Marvel Universe by any means, but man, I gotta say, when I read this and I got the premise of it, which is that Psy, this character, has been employed by Beast and Galactica, this galactic I don't know, being, right? Looking for the 7th Infinity Stone, or what I assume to be the Infinity Stones. And each time they go through this interdimensional portal, it changes the artistic quality, right? So in issue 1, we had Stan Sakai. We've had other artists that take over each artistic duty in each issue, each time coming back to the proper universe with Peach's work. But in this one, we get Phil Noto and Jim Mafood, and they all work so well. Each one of these times that Psy jumps through to this other dimension, really the premise of it is that while Sai is definitely looking for this stone, she's learning more about herself and learning about what it means to be the person that she is and accepting who she is rather than who maybe society wants her to be, or maybe what some of the aspirations are that she can brush aside, knowing that she has confidence in where she is right here and right now. Jim Mafood takes over writing duties for his portion as well. I don't know if Phil Noto does the same, but Jim Mafood's definitely rings through as a one, not dangerous donut, but one deity donut. Really kind of delivers the message that she needs to hear as doubt and fear are like looming over her shoulder. This is going to be great. Like, we have one issue, I believe one issue left in this series here, but I can already see this being great as a treasury edition, similar to like the grand design books or the hip hop family tree kind of thing. Those big format kind of books with great paper and really just letting the art be showcased. I can see that ringing through and through here. Side Dimensional Rivals, man, it kind of did it for me. Next up, let's talk Speed Racer Tales from the Road High Speed Noon #1, written and drawn by a variety of creators. This issue was just okay, right? This is the first time I feel like I read an issue, and granted, this is an ancillary book, right? It's on the side of the Speed Racer and Racer X properties, but this is the first time I've read this book where I was kind of like, okay, I got more into the characters than I expected, and maybe more so than I ever needed, really. So we're dealing with some of the racers that Speed has come across in the past, and they're, a little bit butthurt, honestly, about the way that those races went and their reputation level and their standing with, within the greater racing community and maybe even the Tiger Syndicate as well, and they're kind of off on their own. Well, they come across a town where there is another set of racers here that are basically calling them out on those kind of things, and they go toe to toe. And it was kind of nice seeing that sometimes what it can be perceived as a villainous character have heroic traits, and that's kind of what we see in one of these storylines. But again, it was kind of just okay. It didn't necessarily hit all the beats that I wanted it to. I think that the very first storyline in this issue worked for me so like a little bit better than the secondary issue, or I'm sorry, the secondary storyline in this issue, as it's kind of like a jumbo sized issue, if you will. But, it was kind of one of those things where in previous issues we saw things with Racer X and we saw things with Speed, and it felt like it was more interconnected within the events that were happening within Speed Racer right now. And this one felt disconnected a little bit. Maybe that's what was drawing me out of it, because I really like the world that we have. That's what works really well with Racer X, is that Speed Racer and Racer X are kind of on parallel tracks, and this one feels like it took the off ramp a little bit. So, Speed Racer Tales from the Road, this is the first time it was just kind of okay for me. Let me know what your thoughts are if you read this in the comments down below. All right, let's talk Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #17, written by Gene Lewin Yang with artwork by Freddie Williams. So we're still dealing with the Ujigami, as they've been extracted basically from Splinter. It's the mechanism that brought him back to life, and it's this vengeful spirit. But now the people that are in charge of the Foot Clan right now are looking to use that power to maybe look for a mechanism to get another evil spirit expelled from the person who is overseeing the Foot Clan right here and right now. And this issue was pretty cool. I like the fact that we get to spend a lot of time with the character motivations of the turtles, but they are put in harm's way. All of the premonitions, right? All of the prophecies that Splinter had seen that he was trying to stop, they're starting to come to fruition. We're starting to see the potential deaths of the turtles, if you will, as we see Mikey fall through a portal that takes him directly to the afterlife. Now, what we see here is a really great look at an aspect of the characters that we don't get to see, which is the mother to the turtles. And I really like seeing the relationship that's there, albeit very small, very minimal. We get a glimpse of what that was. And it was really heartfelt. It was really warm. I like that. Freddie Williams had extraordinary artwork on here. It's the Turtles books have been really sneakily good. Juan Ferreira on the previous arc, you already know if you've been watching along here, it was stunning. I loved every bit of it, but I gotta say Freddie Williams is bringing very similar energy, and I don't feel like people are talking about it enough. It's really great looking, man, like through and through. If you like the TMNT property, you really, really need to be checking out this book here. If not for the writing, for the artistic qualities through and through. I like that we're coming to what feels like the end of the storyline. Time will tell. This kind of leaves us on shaky ground. We'll see where it takes us from here. But it feels like this is kind of reestablishing the Turtles together more so than the previous arc did. And I'm really enjoying that. And with my runner up book of the week, let's talk Space Ghost number 10, written by David Pepose with artwork by Jonathan Lau. So in this issue, what we get is the Time Master, and they're basically going timeline to timeline, taking out each and every space ghost that could be available, and doing so in a brutal fashion. But when they get to our dimension, well, Space Ghost and Jan and Jace may have another thing coming for this character. This is just great super heroic storytelling through and through. And I've said that each and every issue, sometimes it rings more true than when it does previously. And that's one of these kind of scenarios. What I really enjoy about this is that while the title of the book is Space Ghost, Jan and Jace are never put to the side. They are always pivotal characters in the storyline, and their character development is never anything that's put to the side either, as these characters continue to grow, continue to develop, so much so that we get, again, when we're dealing with interdimensional stuff that's happening, well, we get jumps through time and different characters and different interpretations of characters that really, really get me excited for this book. Jonathan Lau definitely delivers a grittier look at this character. When I think of Space Ghost, of course, I think of this great Alex Toth qualities, right, which were very simplistic, very minimalistic, but very clean. Jonathan brings a grittier look to the book here, and I think it fits perfectly with what David is doing with the narrative as well, because he's taking these properties and making them feel grounded and making them feel, I don't know, weighty, heavy, and it works so well as a companion piece here. Space Ghost was excellent here. It's a book that you can really jump onto almost at any point because we have a lot of mini arcs that take place. Pick an issue, jump in here. This might not be the best issue to jump in on, but if you did, I wouldn't blame you. This one was awesome. And with my top comic of the week, let's talk Die Loaded number 6, written by Kieran Gillen with artwork by Stephanie Hans. This is the end of the first arc of our sequel series to the property that is Die, and I have to say, it was a doozy. It was like a set them up and knock them down kind of issue. Now, what I will say about this is that you cannot go into this sequel series without having familiarity with the property of Die, the first 20 issues of the very first series. Because if you go in blind, you're going to be lost. And if you are okay with that thing, sure, like dive in. But it's like one of those things where I can guarantee you that your enjoyment of the book really hinges upon what you know about the property and the characters thus far, because there are so many mentions of characters that were in that first series that if you didn't read it, you have no idea what the resonance is behind this. But what we see is the wife of one of our main characters in the first series is meeting up and trying to put the band together, right? The premise of the Die universe, which is like a Dungeons and Dragons type world that you are very literally drawn into, like Jumanji. Well, you need the whole band together, and the only way to beat the game is to escape the game. And the only way to escape the game is for everyone to agree that they want to get out. Seems like an easy premise, doesn't play out that way whatsoever, because sometimes this world could be better than the real world that these people inhabit. And what we're seeing is that every one of these characters has some interconnectivity with a player that was in the very first game. So we've met the game master already, and we know why everyone's here. Now, what we don't know is maybe what their character motivations are. In this issue, by the end of it, you know crystal clear what their motivations are, and you know what the weighty consequences of those motivations mean too. It's a great, great character study on all of these people. They haven't done a lot of world building yet because we got a lot of that within that first series. That's again another reason why you want to go back and read that, because now that you have that, well, you kind of understand everything that's going on in the world at this point here. Now I can't wait to see where they take it from here, because I'll be honest, it's one of those end caps to an arc where I go, oh, how are they going to get out of this? Can they even get out of this? Have they changed the game here within the game? Time will tell on that, but that's the kind of book that makes it really, really special to read, because when you question everything, you have no idea what to anticipate moving forward. And that's the exact reason why this is the top comic of the week. So, Die Loaded was excellent this week here, but what I really like is just talking comics with you guys, right? That's the highlight of my week through and through here. That's exactly why I get together with my guy Stu over at Dr. Doom's Fan Club each and every Wednesday for Ink and Insights, where we get to go over some of our favorite comics of that week, the previous week, sometimes in the past, and a whole heck of a lot more. Make sure to check out this playlist here for all of the episodes of Ink and Insights.